Welcome back to the series of 3 habits of highly successful Muslims. The clear objective and intent of these short videos is to review a great character in Islam, someone forgotten, yet their great contribution on Muslims and even on the world sometimes is radiant even today in our time. We will analyze their circumstances, the situation, what made them great, how they thought, how they made decisions, how they achieved their goals and dreams. We will see how that character applied those 3 principles or habits of highly successful Muslims: learn, plan, and execute, and how by applying them they've reached their goals and dreams. Before I get started, if you have not watched the introduction to 3 habits of highly successful Muslims, I would recommend you watch it first. It's only 12 minutes. The link is on the bottom. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَقْصُصَ الْقَصَصَ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. So relate the story, perchance they may reflect. Therefore, in the sessions and the videos we're going to be meeting to talk about, we will comply and consider those lessons and as guidance. May Allah reward us. Our character today we're going to discuss, his name is Yousef Ibn Tashfin. Again, I'm almost certain most of us never heard this name, although his name should be written with gold water and should be printed everywhere. His story, conduct, and achievement will truly amaze you. The story begins with Abdullah ibn Yasin, who was a Maliki Imam, and Yahya ibn Umar, who was an Emir from a large tribe in Sanhaja. They both decided they would revive Islam in North Africa, around Morocco, Algeria, and establish a state of Islam and nation based on justice, fairness, and so on, and peace and so on. The work started, and fairly after few years, um, both of them actually died, and Abu Bakr ibn Umar, who was Yahya's brother, took over the leadership in that newly started state. The rise of Yusuf ibn Tashfin, our character, to the political prominence was actually somehow unplanned. While Abu Bakr ibn Umar was actually the ruler at this time, was busy trying to bring restive tribes in the south of and middle of Africa to the fold of Islam and spread the word of God. Yusuf actually served as his deputy and manager to run. He basically actually has an absolute charge of the territories in North High Atlas. When Abu Bakr returned after a few years, he realized that his nephew did an excellent job managing the Imara. So, therefore, he decides to abdicate and relinquish rulership in favor of his apprentice, or his cousin, in 1072. This, by the way, never heard of throughout history, that someone will actually decide to step down in favor of someone else who believe to be better than him in managing the kingdom. It just never happened. But this is the true ethics of how real good Muslims looking out for the best of the ummah. Yusuf was actually an effective general and an administrator. Um, his ability to organize and maintain loyalty of the tribes and warriors around him was unbelievable. He expanded the empire, crossing the Atlas Mountains onto plains of Morocco, reaching the Mediterranean, capturing Fez in 1075, Tangier in 1079, and so on. So he unified the territories, built a true kingdom. He also co-founded, the famous Moroccan Marrakesh. So to get a complete picture of what's going on, um, so Yusuf Tashfin sets up the Imara. He was truly the second person, but now it's established. Al-Murabitin is pretty strong, it's pretty powerful, and it's controlling pretty much northern Africa. We cross over to the other side, to the Al-Andalus. Around 1091, a few years, 6 years after the fall of Toledo, Alfonso VI emerges as a very powerful, strong king who rules over Castile and Leon. Meanwhile, Al-Mu'tamid ibn Abbad, who is now ruling Cordoba, Seville, and a few little kingdoms around them, is probably considered the last sovereign king of Al-Andalus. But he's at this point in jeopardy of losing his kingdom to Alfonso. So Alfonso is now got his holy war going on. He's got the Pope to support him from the north, and he's got his eye on Cordova. So 6 years after the fall of Toledo, that's his goal. So what would he do to provoke Al-Mu'tamid ibn Abbad? He sends him a messenger who was actually a Jew person to Al-Mu'tamid, the ruler of Cordoba and Seville. And basically, the message was saying, well, send me the increased tribute, above and beyond. It was actually double or tripled the amount. In addition, I asked for more lands, castles, horses, Arabian horses, 500 soldiers, and so on. But then he also, oh, by the way, my priests and bishops advised me that my wife would deliver my son in the Grand Mosque of Cordoba. So I would ask you to allow me to do that. This was obviously very humiliating to Al-Mu'tamid bin Abbad, and this was all the circumstances that led to Al-Murabitin to go to war along with Al-Mu'tamid ibn Abbad. So what would his answer? So Al-Mu'tamid, actually, his answer was very strong, and he was basically said that I have no desire. I mean, it's written that his son Rashid told him, do not provoke Alfonso the Sixth. But Al-Mu'tamid actually has a very strong response. He says that I have no desire to be branded by my descendants as the men who delivered Al-Andalus as prey to infidels. I am loath to have my name cursed in every Muslim pupil. And for my part, I would rather be camel driver in Africa rather than being a swineherd of pigs in Castile. So the story continues. So basically, what happened is Al-Mu'tamid Abbad sends for assistance and help, praying to that Yousef Tashfin would answer him. Now, Yousef is now in control of the entire Northern Africa, like I said, Algeria, Morocco, very powerful, very simple man. Eats, wheat, flour, grain, drinks water, very simple person. And it was known that Al-Murabitin would nowhere near any luxury of lives or extravagant in how they lived. They lived very simple in the desert, and that's how they used to live. Um, so they were basically warriors by the day and worshippers by the night. Justice was applied, and the kingdom was very, fairness and to all people, and it was very strong. Yusuf accepts and actually says that I will cross over into Andalus to help and aid the call and respond to the call. So basically, he took 15,000 men, provisions, horses, stocks, troops, and so on and so forth, crosses over to an Andalus. And by the way, it's just said that the first time that he actually crossed with horses, white horses, over 6,000, and on a bunch of camels as well. So first time for the peninsula to see people fighting over camels was in 1086 when this war broke out. So the forces were now accompanied by about 10,000 Andalusian fighters from different tribes and different places, primarily from Cordoba and Seville, Cordoba and Ashbelaya. Um, and then the war broke out, and it was actually 1086. The battle called Azalaqa, very famous, where it was said that the entire army of Alfonso VI was completely annihilated, with the exception of about 500 people. He was actually hurt. I think they cut part of his leg, but he was hurt very, very bad. And the consequence of this battle was basically was a turning point in stopping the Reconquista and held Al-Andalus for the Muslims for over 300 years. Um, Yusuf Ibn Tashfin was, you're not going to believe his age at this point. When he crossed the first time, he crossed actually four times in his lifetime. The first time he crossed, he was 84 years old, and he was on the back of the horse fighting himself. Great man, great warrior, great hero, a just person. We all should know who that person is. I think Yusuf ibn Tashfin is Salah ad-Din of Al-Andalus, and it's coincidence that they actually were about the same time, and their names are, Yusuf um, ibn Tashfin, and Salah ad-Din, his real name is Yusuf ibn Najmuddin ibn Ayyub, so they're both Yusuf as well. So Yusuf ibn Tashfin returns home. His son died, and while he was actually at war, and what would person do when you hear that your older son dies while you're, well, he was actually in his deputy back at ruling Murabitin. He decides to stay and continue to fight, but right after the fight was over, he decides to go back pretty quickly. Now, 1090, so after 4 years, what happened is the Taifa kings, or Muluk al-Tawa'if, they went back to their old habits. They started to fight among themselves over pities, and they actually started to pay tribute back to Alfonso VI. The emirs in cities such as Sevilla and Almere and Granada, they just had grown accustomed to extravagant of living. Yusuf saw the implementation of true Islamic rule as long overdue. He wanted to remove those rulers. There, he exiled the emirs Abdullah and his brother Tamim from Granada and Malaga, respectively. He also removed Al-Mu'tamir ibn Abbad from Seville and from Cordoba, and he chained them up. He moved them back to Morocco, where he stayed until he died. His tomb is actually still there. When all said and done, Yusuf united the entire kingdom at this point, with the exception of Sarcosta and Toledo. He went to war with Alfonso and El Cid over Valencia for many years to come. However, he was not able to capture Valencia in his time, but his son Ali ibn Yusuf Tashfin was actually able to. I think it was after he died in 1104 or 1105. Um, Yusuf Tashfin lived almost 100 years. He crossed over to Al-Andalus two more times to continue to protect and fight and help the helpless Muslims from prosecutions and from being tormented and killed. Um, so he's a great hero who lived for what he believed. He was just, he was very simple man. He used to wear very harsh clothes. He used to sleep on the floor. He used to read Quran. It was said that his reading was not perfect. His tongue original origin was not Arabic, but he learned, and he was a very faithful person. I think Yusuf Tashfin is a person from the Sahaba's time, who lived 400 years after their time. We should have so much respect for his leadership and his for his achievement. He kept Al-Andalus intact for 300 years to come. He did that by learning pretty well, planning pretty well, and executing on target. He never gave up. Mawqa'at, or the Battle of Azalaqa, was extremely difficult, and it was bad. It was called Zalaqa because so many people got killed. The blood was almost to the knees, so people were actually slipping and falling, and the horses were slipping and falling from too much blood. Gruesome scene, obviously, but it was a turning point that actually helped the Muslims continue to strive and live for another 300 years in Al-Andalus. So You too, different time, different place, different circumstances. You can be Yusuf Tashafin. You can be a leader. You can show that Islam is about peace, is about just, is about love. Be successful. Plan your future. Know what your weakness and strength. Have a positive mind, positive